space exploration is always full of challenges, opportunities, dreams, and imagination. And people are always wondering what taikonauts are doing in the space station. How are they proposing the challenges and opportunities in the space station? How can they get back to Earth? And today there will be a special event hosted by the mission of China to African Union and also the China Manned Space Agency and African Union Commission. And this event will be officially start at 7 p.m. Beijing time. And this is CGTN's Wulei. I'm now at the China Science and Technology Museum. And before this special event, we have a special connection and interaction communication with some students from Somali. And so I'm going to look at this direction. I know that several students are now at the Somali, and it's very good to see you here. And hello, Somali students. Can you hear me? Yes. I think it's a very great opportunity to meet you here right now. And firstly, I want to let you know that actually I went to 5 African countries in 2015, including Ethiopia, South Africa, Angola, and these African countries are very beautiful. And I hope that one day I can go to Somalia and meet you there. And also, I really hope that you can have a chance to come to visit China, especially this beautiful China Science and Technology Museum. And this one is one of the largest in China. And today I'm going to talk about the China space exploration. And especially today we want to talk about how China space station is constructed and what are the key missions for the international space exploration. And firstly, you can see there are many rocket modules here, including the Long March 5 and Long March 7. And China's space station are mainly constructed by 3 modules, namely the Tianhe core module, and also the Wentian module and Mengtian module. And the Long March 5 and Long March 5B are mainly used to carry these 2 modules into space. And also Long March 7 carrier rocket is mainly used to send the Tianzhou cargo ship into space. And also we will see a very special rocket here. That is the Long March 2F rocket. That is the only manned carrier rocket for the Chinese taikonauts. And here there are my 2 colleagues, Wang Hongjia and Huang Yaohui, and they will demonstrate how to launch the Long March 2F rocket here. So I think you can start. Let's play the game, okay? And you can see that a rocket is composed by different parts, has 2 different engines, and also I think Huang Yaohui just won the game, and this rocket will be launched very soon. As you can see, the rolling pad in the launch station has opened. On the top of the rocket, that's escape tower. The taikonauts are sitting in the Shenzhou spacecraft, and the escape tower is mainly used to escape in case of any emergency. So rotating platforms will open, and we can see the rocket will launch very soon. So every day, over 20,000 people will come here to take a closer look about these, the China rockets and space station modules here. So I think if you, in the future, if you have time, you can come to visit China and come to this Space Science and Technology Museum. And now the rocket will be launched.
发射将进入最后的倒计时。
That's the countdown for the rocket launch.
10、9、8、7、6、5、
5, 4,
3、2、
1.
点火。
Ignition. That's a process of a rocket launch here in the museum. This rocket is the only carrier rocket for taikonauts entering into space right now. And China is actually developing new generation carrier rockets. And that is a main rocket. And here we can see a really real engine for the Long March 5 carrier rocket, the largest carrier rocket here in China, Long March 5. And this is the engine for it. That is the Long March 2F rocket. And this is the engine for the Long March 5, China's largest carrier rocket. That's real. And I think many people, especially youngsters, come here to take a closer look about these rockets and space station. And actually, due to the time difference, it is now over 6 p.m. here in Beijing. So actually, the museum has been closed, and we got a special permission from the museum so that we can give you a special tour about this museum. And this one is the most valuable exhibition piece for this museum. That is a Shenzhou spacecraft returned capsule. It was launched in 1999, and that's the Shenzhou-14 spacecraft. And as you can see, take a closer look about this return capsule. It went into space in 1999, and after several hours, it went back to the Earth, and we can see that the surface has been burned into very dark material due to the high temperature when re-entering this atmosphere. And after 4 times of experiments, China's first taikonaut, Yang Liwei, went into space aboard this Shenzhou-5 spacecraft. So from that time, China has established the real technology of entering into space and come back to Earth. So this Shenzhou return capsule, Shenzhou spacecraft, is really very important, has been a milestone for building China's space station right now. And for how to become a taikonaut, this part is very interesting. That's one of the most exciting points here in this museum. As we can see, 2 of my colleagues have been in this multi-axis trainer simulator, and we will try how the astronauts are trained. Okay, let's start it. As we can see, there are 3 rings in this simulator. The outer ring, inner ring, and the central ring. And the central ring is motivated by a motor, and especially this kind of facility was used for astronauts training. Before you became an astronaut, you have to be fully prepared, not only physically, but also mentally. So I know many of you may want to become an astronaut. So the first thing is to really have good condition in the physical aspects. So you will endure many kinds of experiences and also training. Not only on the ground, you will also have some underwater training. As you can see, they are experiencing the spinning, and also this facility was used to try to help the astronaut's stomach stay centered when they aboard the spacecraft re-entering the atmosphere. So I think that's okay. That's about 1.5 minutes, right? Yeah. Okay. So my two colleagues just had a 1.5 minutes experience about this simulator. This facility is called multi-axis trainer simulator. It's mainly used to train astronauts before they enter the space. Okay, we want to have a very brief interview with them. So every day, over 20,000 people will come here to try these facilities, very interesting facilities about the space exploration here. So guys, I'm now live streaming here at China Science and Technology Museum. If you have any question, comments, leave us a comment. And so, Hongjia, come here. So, how do you feel about this multi-axis trainer simulator?
I would have to say it's very thrilling. You see, although the motion, you see, the pace is very slow, but in fact, I feel I'm hanging.
Do you feel dizzy?
A bit. I'm still spinning now.
You're still spinning.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. How about you, Hong?
Yeah. To be honest, I'm a roller coaster fan.
Really?
This kind of equipment, the experience that I have never. It's totally, completely different.
Different.
Than
it's also your first time.
Tried before. Yeah. It's my first time to take this kind of ride.
Okay. What's your suggestion?
Cool. I think it's not that kind of bad.
It's not kind of bad.
At the very beginning, I was very scared about this, but it's okay.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you so much. And we will continue our tour here. So as we can see that if you want to become an astronaut, you have to be fully prepared in physical and also your mental condition. I know many of you want to become an astronaut. So I talked with some former astronauts, not only in China, but also in Russia, and they told us that actually you better to, not only pilots or other military flyers can go to space. Today, many science specialists and also the mission specialists and also the kind of payload managers can go to space. So it's very important to be prepared in advance. They have a better education about this. And as we can see, this is a module of Shenzhou spacecraft. This is a place that astronauts go into space and come back to Earth. As we can see, there are 3 seats here, and the 3 astronauts will sit here, and they will take about 6 hours from the ground to their space station, and then they will come back. Okay, and this is a module of the Shenzhou spacecraft and also a experimental module station here. So I will give you a closer look about how a space station experimental module looks like. Because China has sent 2 Tiangong experimental module into space. So we can see here is especially for the astronauts go to sleep, and you can see when they sleep, they will wear this kind of clothes, and also it's good for them to sleep vertically. And now in the real station, they will have a better condition. And these are the communication facilities for them to communicate with staff on the ground. And we can hear that they are talking about with what are talking about. And I think that's pretty much for our tour here. And now I want to answer some questions from our Somali friends. So now, if you have any questions, you can ask me, and I will try to answer you about China's space station here.
我们来合个影吧。
Hello, Bolong, our friend here. What about the question from Somali friends? Yes, I can hear you. Oh, what is the first question? I think we can show here.
大
Okay.
家知道水为什么会变成这样子吗？
我来告诉大家，在失重的状态下，水因为张力的存在，会形成球体的状态。加点颜色吧。好的。
Yes.
Somalia, we have Somali STEM Society where we learn more about science, technology,
让我们来个好玩的，
So I understand astronomy,
加点高图片。
everything about
It's a bit noisy here.
universe and beyond that.
哇，好漂亮！
That you see around here that have chance opportunity to witness this and be one astronomist. So on behalf of the Somali students, I would like to know more about atmospheric explorations, data, weather analysis, and weather analysis, space photography. Maybe you can tell us more if there are opportunities coming up for Somali students who want to be astronomers. We have institutions at Somali STEM Society. We have mobile lab, very good lab that we teach robotics. So if you can maybe tell us, you can help us in one way or the other to also learn more about astronomy here in Somalia. Thank you.
So your question is how to help Somali develop the space technology? Am I right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
The young girls you can see here want to be astronomers.
Understood.
Watch the movie, great movie. We can see from your museum everything is very tech related and very sophisticated. So
Okay.
here in Somalia right now we're facing a lot of drought, and if you want to know more about atmospheric, the weather analysis, space photography, data analysis, where can we start? How can you guys help us?
Understood. Actually, I want to mention about in recent years, China and Africa have cooperated in many ways, including using China's remote sensing data. Many African countries can have their development in agriculture, also in the satellite navigation and positioning. And these are we have many examples, like China has cooperated with Egypt in the satellite assembly, and also China has helped Algeria to develop their own communication satellites, to launch the communication satellites. So I think Beidou navigation satellite system is one of the tools that Somali and other African countries can use to help develop your the agriculture and other aspects in the scientist. So I think in this way that Somali and other African countries can use remote sensing data and also Beidou navigation satellite system, the data to help develop more agricultural and other ways in the fields. That's I think what I'm going to talk about. So in Tunisia, China has built its first overseas Beidou navigation center. So I think maybe in the future, we could have some kind of cooperation in this way to use China's remote sensing satellites and also the Beidou navigation satellite systems to help boost your agriculture and other fields in the development. Thank you. And what is the time now? Already. Okay. Okay, let's move a little bit to the lunar exploration.
Do you hear any sound in space indicating life?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. Do you hear any sound in space indicating life?
Space breathing. Are you talking about space breeding or space food?
Space breeding.
Space vegetables?
No. Do you hear any sound in space indicating life?
Oh, any signs of space life, outer space?
Yeah.
That's a very interesting question. I think, our universe is so huge. I talked with many experts and also astronauts. They say they've never heard they haven't detected any sign of life in the outer space right now. But I think in the future, maybe with the advancement of our technology, we may have found more signs of life in outer space. But the first thing is we have to learn how to live in space. So today, as you can see, there are many space food and space breeding. So the first thing for humans is to learn how to live in our near Earth orbit. And after that, we can go to further places like Mars and other beyond our solar system. But the first thing is to learn how to live longer in our near Earth orbit so that we can have the ability and also the advancement to go to the other planets. So this is a space snack and also space ice cream. These ice creams and snacks are mainly used for astronauts living in the space. So you can have a try at this China Science and Technology Museum. These are the real ice cream that astronauts will eat in the space station. So, and also space vegetables. Astronauts are planting some space vegetables, and they are doing all kinds of experiments in the microgravity environment. They are studying all kinds of physical, chemical, and also biological experiments. So if in the future you have the chance, you can go to visit China Space Station. And I know that China will offer some 200 scholarships for Somali students, especially in the STEAM subjects. I know many of you are interested in the STEAM subjects. So I hope that today's interaction and also our live streaming will help you to better understand the development of China Space Station. And in the future, you can come to go study abroad, including the university in China, and you can work with Chinese scientists so that your projects, or you can go to visit China Space Station in the future. And I think due to our time limitation, that's pretty much for our talk and discussion today with our Somali students. And thank you so much. And we are looking forward to meeting you here in person in China. And wish your talk with the taikonauts will have a very good talk in the very near future. I know you will meet these 3 taikonauts in the very near future. Okay, thank you so much. Bye-bye. I will continue our tour here in the China Science and Technology Museum, and our special event will be started very soon. Okay? Bye-bye.
Okay, bye. Can we have one more question?
Oh, one more question. Okay, no problem.
We have very UC and SC students here.
Okay, no problem.
Astronaut will be watching this and I really very small kind of appreciate but I have got one goal is sponsor volunteer to Astronaut and please let's have that.
Sorry, what is the problem? What is the question?
But first, my name is Maya.
Hello, Maya.
Thank you. So I got a question.
Sure. Can you?
What's your question?
Yes. What is your question?
First name.
Okay, my name is Wu Lei.
Would you study art?
What?
Would you study art?
Sorry, I can't hear you. What?
Would you study art?
Standing out? Sorry, can you repeat your question? Yes, I can hear you.
Would you study art?
Oh, what I'm studying on? My major is business English in my college. My major is business English. I have been a reporter over 10 years, and I love science and space. I have been covering the astronauts and space station and also lunar exploration for several years.
Thank you. Can I ask you another question?
That's it? Any more questions?
Yes, one more question.
One more question?
Okay, which can you tell me the why the English international language? Can you tell me the why the requested the English language international?
Can you repeat your questions? Sorry, I can't hear very clearly. I think there are many Somali students here. Can you repeat the question? Sorry. As we can see today, this special event is thousands of African students will talk with our Shenzhou-14 taikonauts. The event will start at 7 p.m.
What is the like this?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
The young guy is sitting where she can start space station in China.
Special what?
Technology and space station related knowledge. There are university or station there, China where she can study.
Oh, you mean what kind of universities in China can study the subjects related to the space station? Am I right?
Yes.
Okay. There are many excellent universities here in China. We have different subjects like physics, like chemistry, and also biology. It depends on what subject interests you most. For example, if you love physics, if you love astronomy, and if you like chemistry, you can be a you can be a specialist, mission specialist, because if we go to the space station, there are different kinds of functions and experiments will be done inside this kind of space station. We need different subjects, different specialists. Some are good at, to be a pilot. Some are good at doing some experiments in the space station. So it really depends on your interests. We have many, very excellent universities majoring in physics, majoring in astronomy, in chemistry, and also biology. So even if you are good at teaching something, you can be a teacher at this space station in the future. So it really depends on you. What kind of subjects do you like most? So I think in the future, you can really apply to the universities that are good at these subjects. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you so much. That's all we have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Somalia students. See you next time. I hope I can visit Somalia in the coming years.
Thank you.
Okay, you're also welcome to visit China. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, so I think that's pretty much for our communication or discussion with Somali students. And I think we still have some minutes, so we will continue our tour to this place. This is a simulator for the lunar exploration. We know China's Chang'e-5 lunar spacecraft has returned to Earth with 1.7 kilograms of lunar samples. So in the coming years, China will continue to launch Chang'e-6 and Chang'e-7. So here we can see this is a lunar scientific investigation simulator. So we really want to know how it works. And also, I want to invite my two colleagues, Hongjia and Huang Yaohui, to have a try about this product. Even I can have a try, maybe. Yeah, maybe I can have a try. Okay, so here you are.
Take this one.
Okay, thank you.
I think I tried this one.
Really?
Yeah.
So what's
Better
this?
visual effect.
Okay, so
So I was waiting for you guys.
okay, so this is the virtual reality equipment. We are wearing this virtual reality. Okay, it's a simulator. To my task here is to find the water resources here on the moon. Okay, here is a break and go. So, Hongjia, what's your mission?
My mission is to find the ice and water resources.
I think we have the same mission actually.
Yeah, then let's go.
Okay, so how to go?
Should we press the button on our left side?
Okay, we are waiting for the instructor.
I can see I'm already in the suit.
Yes. It's to simulate in the year of 2056. And we are in two different lunar spacecraft, lunar rover. And our job, our mission is to find the water. Okay, I can see the gate opens. So we are now moving on the moon. Oh, I can see our beautiful Earth here in front of me. Okay, so there are very There are many rocks here on the moon. So Hongjia, where are you?
Yeah, I'm behind you. You drive very fast. I'm following your tracks.
Okay. So there are many rocks here. We have to make sure we are very careful here. We have to climb this mountain, I think.
And I can see many lunar rocks.
Yes, many rocks here.
Yeah, so make the
And I can see many stars and, oh, we are here. Whoa, 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 whoa. We are now climbing down this mountain. I can see the water in front of me. Okay. So this is a simulator to have a try about the okay. Oh, well, mission failed. So that's all. Okay. It's very special experience about how to find water resources on the moon, because in the next few years, China and Russia and other countries will help to build an international lunar scientific station. So that means our astronauts and our taikonauts will be landing on the moon. They will be working with astronauts from other countries, and they will build a permanent scientific station there so that they can have more scientific research. And this is a model of China's Chang'e-4 spacecraft. And it's the same size, and you can see it's very big. Chang'e-4 is a very famous spacecraft landing on the far side of the moon. So that is also an international collaboration about the lunar exploration. It's the first time for the human spacecraft landing on the far side of the moon. And especially in that mission, China finishes that landing, rovering, and also in the same mission. That's very remarkable. And now we are going to try this Mars simulator here. It's walking on Mars. So how it works, we need to ask some help from the museum. So how it works? Okay.
This is X.
Okay, we can go. Oh, no, not this way.
Yeah.
Okay.
This time I will.
We know China has launched its Tianwen-1 Mars rover, and the Zhurong rover has been working on Mars, and it has moved for over 1 kilometer long. That it is now in the rest mode. What's this? 这是一个什么？背包是吗？ Okay. So this is a mission to simulate that I'm walking on the Mars. Okay. I need to take this. My cameraman, can you come here? Can you come here? Okay. Okay. I need to take this. It's a simulate that you are walking on the Mars. Mars is called the sister planet of Earth. There are many, I can see many sandstorms. Wow, this is my hand. Okay, 可以开始了吗？So my job is to collect some Mars samples here. My job is to collect some Mars sample. I can see a Mars cap here in front of me. there are some vegetables in the Mars cap. Okay. Okay. This is number 1. Okay. 氧化铁. Okay, this is okay, I'm collecting some. Okay. This is Mars sample 1. Okay. And number 2. Okay, this is a second bottle. I'm here to collect another Mars sample here. Okay, that's all. Okay, mission accomplished. Okay, I think that's a very interesting Mars mission, because Mars is also called the sister planet of our Earth, and we have collected some Mars samples, and we know there are many people watching our live streaming here. We can see one of our friends said, Ahmad Sovi Fafiru. I hope China Space Station invites Asian and African astronauts. Actually, China Space Station will be ready by the end of this year, and the China Space Station welcomes astronauts and scientists from all over the world. So if any country or any space agency interested in the China Space Station, China Space Station welcome all the scientists. And also, one of friends asked if China will invite African astronauts to the China Space Station. Of course, that's a yes. Amazing life, yes, thank you very much. I think that's pretty much for our live streaming here. And in order to end our live streaming here, I want to mention that in about 10 minutes, our special event will start. Shenzhou-14 taikonauts, Chen Dong, Liu Yang, and Xuzhe will talk with our African friends, and they will answer some questions with our African students. So this is the very first time they have the interaction with students from the Wentian Space Lab. That's the very first time they're giving kind of a space class. So we know they have been working there for 6 months, and already 3 months passed. They will have another, they will stay there and work there for another 3 months. So we are really looking forward to their expedition and also their experiments. And thank you very much for watching our live streaming. Stay tuned. Our special event will officially start at 7 p.m. or 11 GMT. So stay tuned, and we will have a very interesting video here. So thank you very much. Goodbye.
从返回舱进入轨道航天员聂海胜、刘伯明、汤洪波先后进入天河核心舱。
请全国人民放心。哇，这外面太漂亮！
目前在研型号当中，系统最复杂，应该说技术难度最高的一个航天器。
想哭的时候一定要把头扬起来，不能泪水流出来。
飞得离太阳最近的人，
只要有50%的把握，我就敢上。
我志愿从事载人航天事业，因有为贵。
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
In 1969, Neil Armstrong delivered his famous words from the moon. By this time, China had already been working on its first manned spacecraft research for 2 years. Chen Dong, the father of China's rocketry program, dared to dream big.
At 9:30 that night, the fifth country in the world, following the Soviet Union,
播事业局报告，收到了东方红1号播送的《东方红乐曲》，声音清晰洪亮。
Before China's first spacecraft was born, it had a significant name, Shuhuang, First Light of Dawn. The Chinese plan was to put 2 astronauts in space within 2 years. In 1971, the first 19 candidates were chosen. Like the Soviets and Americans, they were all fighter pilots.
这段影像记录了上世纪70年代中国航天员的早期训练过程。改装后的小型飞机成为失重实验室，在高速下坠中实现40多秒的失重状态。摄影机拍下了坐在后排的锻炼员在失重环境下练习吃东西、喝水的过程。
Due to a social turbulent era, China could not afford to undertake such a massive project. China's first manned space project was halted after 8 years. The United States had already completed 6 crewed missions to the moon, and by this time in 1975, launched 2 Mars landers, Viking 1 and 2. But there was a silver lining. Chairman Mao Zedong and US President Gerald Ford held a historic meeting in Beijing. 6 days before their meeting, China launched its first recoverable satellite, Jianbing-1, laying the foundation for its future success in space. The turning point was in September 21st, 1992, after a 17-year break. China decided to restart its manned space program and set a clear and ambitious path. Named after the date, Project 921 was born. It had a 3-step blueprint. First, put an astronaut in space and ensure his or her safe return. Second, carry out extravehicular activities or EVA and launch a space lab. Third, build a crewed space station. China began building its new crewed spacecraft. It was based on Jianbing's satellite technology, but with a new name, Shenzhou. 4 Shenzhou craft cleared all technical obstacles soon after. But now, the big question: who's going to be China's first man in space? In 1998, 14 candidates were selected from among China's best pilots. They were thrown into the harshest training environment, also with help from Russia. Only one was chosen. China aimed to launch its first manned mission in 2003, but it turned out to be one of the most disastrous years in the history of spaceflight.
The Columbia is lost. There are no survivors.
There were 2 tragedies in the United States and Brazil. 28 people in total died. The pressure was on China, but it kept the launch date unchanged. At 9 a.m. October 15, as the steel tower released the launch vehicle, the nation held its breath. History was made. Young Li Wei became a legend, the first Chinese person in space. China joined ranks of the Soviet Union and the United States. 2 years later, Shenzhou-14 carried another 2 astronauts into space. China had accomplished the first step of the 921 project. The next step was EVA and a space lab. A month after the end of the Beijing Olympics, 2 astronauts did the first spacewalk in 2008. But things didn't go their way.
这个时候的出舱活动新疆展开，轨道舱火灾，
轨道舱火灾，轨道舱火灾，轨道舱火灾，连续3遍，非常急促。
突然间听见“火灾”这2个字儿，脑瓜子、脑皮子发麻呀，就感觉脑皮子唰一下子就是凉了一下，感觉到头发每一根都立起来了，瞬间的第一反应就是这个反应。
而且我眼睛看到的仪表上，就像消防车那个灯一样，红的在闪。
这个最难处置的2个特殊情况呢，一个就是火灾，一个就是舱体失去密封。
我当时甚至想，如果关上舱门，如果发现有一点火药趋势，我会当即决断，让返回舱值守的舰把我们的舱门分离，让我和志刚分裂出去，让他平安无事。当时内心的斗争真是异常的复杂。
Thankfully, it was a false alarm. The vacuum had affected the instrument board. In 2011, the US Congress passed the Wolf Amendment. NASA was banned from space collaboration with China or any China-owned company. But this did not stop China's quest for space exploration. Not long after, China sent its first target spacecraft into orbit and carried out automatic and manual docking. And finally, female astronauts joined the team. Tiangong-1 was an entry-level space lab. Its main tasks were docking and orbital experiments. Tiangong-2 was a more advanced version. It tested technologies needed for the construction of space station. Astronauts started to spend more time in space. In 2016, the Shenzhou-14 circled the Earth for over a month with astronauts on board.
我这爽不爽？爽！
In 2017, China's manned space program completed its second step. The first cargo spacecraft, Tianzhou-1, docked with Tiangong-2 3 times. It tested a series of new technologies, including transportation of living supplies and in-orbit refueling. Then began the third step, building the space station. It's called Tiangong or Heavenly Palace. It consists of a core module and 2 experimental modules and can dock with manned spacecraft and cargo ships. The core module was finally ready for launch. It blasted off in April 2021. 2 months later, 3 astronauts on board Shenzhou-14 entered space. They opened the hatch and began their 3 months in a new home.
哇，这外面太漂亮，老亮了。下面有白云朵朵，像海洋一样的，跟随我的步伐，一起自由的飞翔吧。
China's space station will be completed in 2022. After 3 decades, over 10,000 days, and hundreds of launches, China can proudly say it has a home in space.
从返回舱进入轨道。航天员聂海胜、刘伯明、汤洪波先后进入天河核心舱。
请全国人民放心。哇，这外面太漂亮！
目前在研型号当中，系统最复杂，应该说技术难度最大的一个航天器。
想哭的时候一定要把头仰起来，不能泪水流出来。
飞得离太阳最近的人，
只要有50%的把握，我就敢上。
我自愿从事载人航天事业，英勇为贵。
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
In 1969, Neil Armstrong delivered his famous words from the moon. By this time, China had already been working on its first manned spacecraft research for 2 years. Chen Dong, the father of China's rocketry program, dared to dream big.
At 9:30 that night, the fifth country in the world, following the Soviet Union.
播事业局报告，收到了东方红1号播送的《东方红乐曲》，声音清晰洪亮。
Before China's first spacecraft was born, it had a significant name, Shuhuang, First Light of Dawn. The Chinese plan was to put 2 astronauts in space within 2 years. In 1971, the first 19 candidates were chosen. Like the Soviets and Americans, they were all fighter pilots.
这段影像记录了上世纪70年代中国航天员的早期训练过程。改装后的小型飞机成为失重实验室，在高速下坠中实现40多秒的失重状态。摄影机拍下了坐在后排的锻炼员在失重环境下练习吃东西、喝水的过程。
Due to a social turbulent era, China could not afford to undertake such a massive project. China's first manned space project was halted after 8 years. The United States had already completed 6 crewed missions to the moon, and by this time in 1975, launched 2 Mars landers, Viking 1 and 2. But there was a silver lining. Chairman Mao Zedong and US President Gerald Ford held a historic meeting in Beijing. 6 days before their meeting, China launched its first recoverable satellite, Jianbing-1, laying the foundation for its future success in space. The turning point was in September 21st, 1992, after a 17-year break. China decided to restart its manned space program and set a clear and ambitious path. Named after the date, Project 921 was born. It had a 3-step blueprint. First, put an astronaut in space and ensure his or her safe return. Second, carry out extravehicular activities, or EVA, and launch a space lab. Third, build a crewed space station. China began building its new crewed spacecraft. It was based on Jianbing satellite technology, but with a new name, Shenzhou. 4 Shenzhou craft cleared all technical obstacles soon after. But now, the big question: who's going to be China's first man in space? In 1998, 14 candidates were selected from among China's best pilots. They were thrown into the harshest training environment, also with help from Russia. Only 1 was chosen. China aimed to launch its first manned mission in 2003, but it turned out to be one of the most disastrous years in the history of spaceflight.
The Columbia is lost. There are no survivors.
There were 2 tragedies in the United States and Brazil. 28 people in total died. The pressure was on China, but it kept the launch date unchanged. At 9 a.m. October 15, As the steel tower released the launch vehicle, the nation held its breath. History was made. Young Li Wei became a legend, the first Chinese person in space. China joined ranks of the Soviet Union and the United States. 2 years later, Shenzhou-14 carried another 2 astronauts into space. China had accomplished the first step of the 921 project. The next step was EVA and a space lab. A month after the end of the Beijing Olympics, 2 astronauts did the first spacewalk in 2008. But things didn't go their way.
这个时候的出舱活动新疆展开，轨道舱火灾，
轨道舱火灾，轨道舱火灾，轨道舱火灾，连续3遍，非常急促。
突然间听见火灾这2个字儿，脑瓜子、脑皮子发麻呀，就感觉脑皮子唰一下子就是凉了一下，感觉到头发每一根都立起来了，瞬间的第一反应就是这个反应。
而且我眼睛看到的仪表上，就像消防车那个灯一样，红的在闪。
这个最难。
To the African Union, Your Excellency Professor Balestino, the Commissioner for Education, Science, Technology and Innovation, African Union Commission. Dr. Lin Xiqiang, Deputy Director General of China Manned Space Agency. Your Excellency, Mr. Ballard Moller Gathan, Minister of Innovation and Technology of Ethiopia. Excellencies and dear friends, welcome you all to participate in the Turquoise Taikonauts event, co-hosted by Mission of China to the African Union, the African Union Commission, and the China Manned Space Agency. The main conference site is based here, in the headquarters of the African Union, in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. We also have sub-venues in 8 African countries online, and more than 50 African countries attending this event virtually. Greetings to you all. I am He Youlin, Minister Counselor of Mission of China to the African Union. It's the first time that a partner of Africa and the African Union Commission co-host a Space Earth connection for African young people to have close engagement with technauts in the space. Without further delay, I'm honored to invite His Excellency, Ambassador Hu Changchun, Head of Mission of China, to the African Union to announce the event open. Please welcome.
Monsieur Mohamed Bellosin, Commissaire de l'Union africaine.
Distinguished Your Excellency Bellosin, Distinguished Dr. Lin Xiqiang, Deputy Director General of China Manned Space Agency, Your Excellencies, Ministers, leaders of all missions, dear guests, youth from Africa, ladies and gentlemen, friends, hello to you all. Welcome you to join the dialogue in the Heaven Palace. The Shenzhou-14 Taikonaut Crew Q&A event with African youth co-organized by the Chinese Mission to AU Commission and China Manned Space Office. This activity is the first time that Chinese taikonauts have a direct dialogue with African youth through the connection between heaven and earth, which will trigger a space fever in the African continent. The 3 taikonauts on the Chinese space station in the Heaven Palace will answer questions from African youth about life in space, scientific experiments, and the growth experiences of taikonauts, so that we could satisfy their curiosity and desire for space. This event is one of the activities to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic ties between China and the African Union, and it has received strong support from African space authorities and Chinese embassies and consulates in Africa. The enthusiastic participation of African youth and the attention given to us by African media has been wonderful. I would like to extend our heartfelt thanks to all of you who have lent great support to this event. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, looking up at the stars, it always gives people infinite imagination. From the Timbuktu astronomical manuscript to the large radio array in South Africa, to the establishment of the African Space Agency, African people are determined to explore space. China, on the other hand, has the legend of Chang'e running to the moon in ancient times. And now, we have the dream of manned flight to the sky. In recent years, under the guidance of the Belt and Road Initiative, as well as the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation, space cooperation has become a highlight of China-Africa cooperation. We have seen fruitful results in satellite launches, joint construction of space infrastructure, as well as sharing of satellite resources, joint satellite R&D, and other forms of cooperation. And we have also provided high-quality training for African researchers. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, youth represents the future, and talents are the basis of revitalization. For long, China has actively participated in the training of African talents and helped African countries to build their self-developing capacities. Since 2000, China has trained more than 300,000 African talents in various fields and provided many government scholarships to Africa. Today's event once again demonstrates the firm will of China and Africa to work together to climb the peak of science and technology. It is believed that the dialogue with the Heaven Palace will further stimulate the curiosity of African youth about space and their thirst for knowledge. The road to the stars begins at your feet. I believe that you will be like Chinese taikonauts, my young African friends. You will train as hard as you can and master high technology and devote yourself to the scientific exploitation of nature. All of those things will promote economic takeoff and make positive contributions to the building of a high-level China-Africa community of that shared future, as well as the humankind. And now, I wish this event a great success and a long-lasting friendship between China and Africa. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Now, I would like to invite
谢谢阁下。
Professor Palestino, the Commissioner for Education, Science, Technology and Innovation, African Union Commission, to give their welcome remarks. Please welcome, Your Excellency.
Thank you. Your Excellency, Mr. Beliti Mola Getahun, Minister of Innovation and Technology of Ethiopia. Your Excellency, Mr. Hu Changchun, Ambassador of the Mission of the People's Republic of China to the African Union. Excellencies, ambassadors, and members of the diplomatic corps present today with us. Mr. Lin Qingchang, Deputy Director General of China Manned Space. I hope I didn't torture his name. Honorable delegates from the connected hubs in Africa, the taikonauts on board. I think I should have started with you because without you, we couldn't have the connections. Distinguished guests and AUC staff. It gives me a great pleasure to co-host, together with the China mission to the AU, this important taikonauts event. As you know, the African Outer Space Program is a flagship of Agenda 2063 that focuses on 4 main domains, including Earth observation, satellite communication, navigation and positioning, and astronomy and space sciences. Building on the bricks of the national space programs, it is designed to create a well-coordinated and integrated continental program that is responsive to the continent's socio-economic development needs. It aims to develop regulatory frameworks that support the African space agenda. For the full implementation of the African Outer Space Program, the AU has established the African Space Agency, located in Egypt, which will be operational soon. In the same vein, the AU is finalizing with the South African government the establishment of the Pan-African University Space Science Institute. On the programmatic side, the African Union is implementing the Global Monitoring for Environment and Security and Africa program. We call it the GMES and Africa program, and the Global Framework for Climate Service programs that are funded by I repeat, on the programmatic side, the African Union is implementing the Global Monitoring for Environment and Security and Africa program, we call it GMES and Africa, and the Global Framework for Climate Service programs that are funded by the European Commission and with technical support from European space institutions. The cooperation of the African Union Commission with the China National Space Administration and the Chinese space private sector was initiated in 2019 through working visits that led to the development of the draft of the Africa-China Space Policy White Paper, addressing the key objectives and priorities of the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation, commonly known as FOCAC. The successful convening of China-Africa Beidou, which is Chinese Navigation and Positioning Satellite Initiative. This was a forum, it took place last year, and it's also a good example of the China-AU space cooperation. China has also worked with African countries to develop key ground infrastructures and permitted 6 launches, if I'm not mistaken, from its soil. And today, we are witnessing the taikonauts event that is another milestone in the gesture of China-Africa cooperation in motivating and engaging young Africans on space matters. In the new space era, Africa is open for mutually beneficial cooperation, and it is ready for engagements on all kinds of win-win scenarios. As I conclude, I want to thank China for the deliberate engagements in space advancement in Africa. Our department looks forward to an informative and fruitful sessions with the taikonauts as part of our broader AU-China cooperation and collaboration prospects, and we thank the Chinese mission for having proposed and having made it happen today. I thank you for your attention, and again, I hope we will have fruitful deliberations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for highlighting China-Africa space cooperation. China is willing to support African Union's space initiatives and enhance our cooperation in this regard. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Lin Xiqiang, Deputy Director General of China Manned Space Agency, to give his remarks. Please welcome.
尊敬的胡长春大使、贝核心委员、亲爱的飞同学们、女士们、先生们，大家好。首先，感谢大家对中国
Distinguished Excellency Ambassador Hu Changchun, Your Excellency Commissioner Bei Hexin, dear friends from Africa, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. First of all, thank you for your attention to China's manned space missions. I'm very glad to find that young people from Africa are so enthusiastic about manned space missions. Please allow me, on behalf of China Manned Space Engineering Office, to extend my heartfelt regards to you all. The Earth is a cradle of humanity, but we cannot live in the cradle forever. In the face of the vast and boundless universe, humanity is infinitely small. But we can be great in exploring the universe. We Chinese have the myth of goddess of the moon, Chang'e, going to the moon, and the first try of spaceflight by Wan Hu in the Ming Dynasty. Today we have manned space missions. Since the missions were approved in 1992, we have been following the established strategy and fulfilling goals one by one. By the end of this year, we will have finished building our own space station. Our space station is named Tiangong, which means the heavenly space. The name connotates Chinese people's imagination on the space station and also carries the 1,000-year dream of spaceflight. After it's finished, our space station will have resident astronauts and more than 20 laboratory cabinets, which will enable scientific experiments on aeroscope medicine, space life science and biotechnology, microgravity, fluid physics, material science in space, fundamental physics of microgravity, and new space technology. Outside the space station, we planned more than 60 loading planes that can be used to conduct outdoor exposure experiments or technical testings, including astronomical observations and Earth observation, and those on material science in space and space biology. The crew of the Shenzhou-14 manned spaceship, who will talk with you today, have been in the station for 93 days, and they will stay there for another 3 months or so. During this day, they will work on assembly and building tasks on the space station and carry out many research programs, including experiments on life science, magnetics, suspension and material science, and analysis of medical samples. The Tiangong space station belongs to China and also belongs to the world. It will be an open platform for world people to explore the universe and conduct scientific research. I hope that you take more sports exercises and work hard in school. When you work as an astronaut in the future, you might be working with Chinese astronauts on our space station for joint missions. In addition, each laboratory cabinet on the space station is a mini space lab. Your contribution of wonderful original thoughts to the space station will be greatly appreciated. And we will also welcome you to our space station for scientific research to unravel the mysteries of the universe. According to our Chinese ancestors' definition, the first character of 宇宙 or the universe represented space, and the second character represented time. This coincides with the modern scientist definition of the universe, which is all of the space and time. Similarly, China-Africa friendship transcends time and space and has gone through a journey of over more than 70 years. Students and friends, please join us and raise your heads towards the starlit sky. Let's envision a beautiful future when we work together to explore the universe. Thank you.
Now, let's move on to the model presenting session. I would like to invite Ambassador Hu Changchun and Commissioner Balesina. Ambassador Hu will present the model of Chinese Tiangong Station to Commissioner Balesina. Please. Let's stay for a moment for photos. Thank you, Your Excellencies. The Talk with Taikonauts event has been warmly welcomed by the African young friends since its first post on social media on July the 8th. Now, we're going to watch the theme video, Talk with Taikonauts, to see what has happened. Please.
In 1992, China launched its manned space program with a three-step strategy. Now, 30 years has passed. The first step was to launch a manned spaceship, set up primarily integrated experimental manned spacecraft engineering, and carry out space application experiments. In October 2003, China successfully launched its first manned spaceship Shenzhou-14. It was a milestone for China's manned space program and made China the third country to send a man into space. 2 years later, 2 astronauts were sent into space aboard Shenzhou-14 and returned safely. The second step includes making technological breakthroughs in extravehicular activities, space rendezvous and docking of manned spaceships and spacecraft, as well as sending space labs to the universe. In September 2008, China launched the Shenzhou-14 spaceship and achieved its first spacewalk. In September 2011, China launched its first prototype space station Tiangong-1, which later docked with the Shenzhou-8, Shenzhou-9, and Shenzhou-10 spacecraft. In September 2016, China launched with Tiangong-2. Two astronauts, Chen Dong and Chen Dong, spent 30 days aboard Tiangong-2. The third step is to assemble a space station and provide a solution for space application of a larger scale with man tending on a long-term basis. In April 2021, China successfully launched its space station core module Tianhe. Afterward, the Shenzhou-14 and Shenzhou-13 manned missions each sent a 3-person crew to the space station, who stayed in orbit for 3 months and half a year respectively. In May 2022, China launched cargo spacecraft Tianzhou-4 to deliver supplies for its space station. On June 5, 2022, the Shenzhou-14 spaceship sent 3 taikonauts to China's space station. The trio will stay in orbit for 6 months and complete the assembly and construction of the space station, concluding the 3-step strategy of China's manned space program. In recent years, breakthroughs have been made in space cooperation between China and Africa. Using China's remote sensing data, the two sides carry out cooperation in the fields of disaster prevention and mitigation, radio astronomy, satellite navigation and positioning, and precision agriculture. The complete satellite assembly integration and test center built by Egypt with China's help has laid solid foundations for Egypt's aerospace industry. China assisted Algeria to launch its first-ever communication satellite. It also completed the in-orbit delivery of the Sudan First Scientific Experiment satellite. In 2019, at the Namibia University of Science and Technology, Chinese astronauts Liu Yang and Chen Dong shared their stories with the students, using photos and videos showing the training, the liftoff and their work in space. China has increased the Beidou system's global service capacity and established Beidou Cooperation Forum mechanism with the African Union, completing the first overseas Beidou center in Tunisia, and conducting satellite navigation cooperation with countries such as South Africa and Algeria. In July 2022, China launched the first lab module of its space station, Wentian, with a takeoff mass of 23 tons and a length of nearly 18 meters. The Wentian lab module, the Tianhe core module, together with the Mengtian lab module to be launched later this year, will comprise the final multi-module space station. Today, our class will take place in the Wentian module. It is the very first live lecture from the Tiangong classroom to Africa, expected to sow the seeds of science and enlight dreams for African students.
From the same video, we could see that China's manned space cause has made significant achievements, and China-Africa space cooperation has moved forward steadily. Since the post of the event, I was amazed by African young friends' curiosity and interests in space, and some of the questions are very professional. Now, the 3 Chinese taikonauts will be connected to say hello to our African young friends and give their opening remarks. Please welcome Mr. Chen Dong, Ms. Liu Yang, and Mr. Cai Xuzhe. The floor is yours.
Hello friends from Africa, I am Chen Dong, astronaut from Beijing, China. I am Liu Yang and I am Cai Xuzhe. Liu Yang and I visited Africa in 2019. The friendly and hospitable people in the vast expanse of the African continent left us with beautiful memories. Today, we are glad to talk with our African friends in this special way. We are also very happy to answer your questions.
Now, we're coming to the most exciting part of the event. Here comes the first round of questions and answers. Young African friends from sub-venues in Algeria, Egypt, Ethiopia, and Namibia will be connected with Chinese taikonauts. Dear friends, are you ready? Now, let's connect with Algeria.
Hello. Since the Great Wall of China can be seen from space, is it also possible to see the Sahara Desert and Mount Kilimanjaro from the Tiangong space station? How do taikonauts find their way around in space? What does the Earth, horizon, moon, and other planets look like in space? How many times in a day can we see sunrise and sunset from the space station? Thank you.
Thank you. Let's invite Chinese taikonauts to answer the questions.
在太空是看不到长城的。
In the space, we cannot see Great Wall. However, when the weather is good over the horizon of Africa, we can see Sahara and Kilimanjaro, and we can also see some big cities, particularly at night. Brightly lit cities are easy to see. We use different methods for finding directions in space. We divide the space station into different cabins and sections. Each cabin and section is further divided into quadrants areas. For example, the Tianhe core module is divided into a large section, a small column section. The large column section is further divided into rear cone areas A, B, C, and D, and forward cone. We use the cabins, sections, areas, and quadrants as references in determining directions. Without interference of the Earth atmosphere and clouds, we can see a clearer and brighter moon on the space station. We also have a clear sight of the starry sky and the vast universe. Seen from the Earth, the sun rises in the east and goes down in the west every 24 hours. But in space, we can see 16 sunrises and sunsets every day. When sun rises in space, we first see a golden arc on the edge of the Earth. Soon, there is glaring sunlight, and it is clearly visible that the line between daytime and night is gradually moving. Against the deep darkness of space, the Earth is so magnificent. The seawater is as blue as cornflowers, and the clouds are as white as snow. The Earth is our home. We must love her, protect her, and cherish her.
The Earth must be very magnificent and beautiful when viewed from Tiangong Station. Now, let's connect with Egypt. Go ahead with your questions.
Hello, Ms. Liu Yang. You are China's first female astronaut. Here I have some questions for you. Do you find it difficult to be a female astronaut? How did you achieve your life goals and dreams? What's your assignment of the space station? Are you married? You're undertaking a manned space mission on behalf of women across the world. So could you please give us, especially women from Africa, some words of encouragement from space? Thank you.
Thank you. Let's turn to Chinese taikonauts.
航天员是
It is widely acknowledged that the taikonauts are one of the most challenging and risky jobs. Requirements for astronauts are very exacting and stringent. Men and women do have differences in physical capabilities. But in the harsh and complicated environment of space, you won't get a preferential treatment for being a woman. Therefore, the stringent requirements in taikonaut selection will not be relaxed for gender reasons. In the face of the same tasks and challenges, we need to double our efforts. In June 2012, on behalf of Chinese women, I went to space for the first time. In June 2022, together with Chen Dong and Xuzhe, I came to space once again to build the space station. In July, we welcomed the first massive module, the Wentian lab in the core module, entering a new era in which our space station runs multiple modules. In the future, we will be welcoming Mengtian lab, relocating it, and verify its functions. We will carry out extravehicular activities, space technology experiments and research, and to support technologies. I am happily married. I have a supportive husband who shares the same career pursuits with me. We have a daughter and a son. I put my family photo on my bedside. It makes me feel that they are flying with me. Love and support from family give me infinite power and courage. A great deal of flight data tells that men and women show no difference in their work performance in the space. We can all fulfill training tasks and pass evaluations. In fact, in every walk of life, there are outstanding females dedicated to their positions. As long as we cherish our dreams, we will have power. As long as we aim high and work hard, we can unleash the potential of our intelligence and realize our dreams.
Thank you. I want to pay a special tribute to Ms. Liu Yang. Women hold up half the sky and make great contributions to our country and the world. Now, I would like to invite our young friend from Ethiopia to come to the podium and ask questions. Please.
Thank you very much. I'm standing here on the behalf of Ethiopian and African young students who are striving for learning aerospace engineering. I will directly go to my questions. My first question is, what is the difference between living in space and living on Earth? How do you eat, sleep, and take baths in a wasteless environment? What do you eat there? Are there anything to eat there? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's see how the Chinese taikonauts respond to these questions. Please.
太空和地球
The biggest difference between Earth and space is gravity. Everything floats in space. Look at the object in my hand. When I let it go, it won't fall, but floats instead. And so in space, we need to put objects in fixed positions. Food and water are placed in special containers. We have a microwave oven and a refrigerator to heat and preserve food. On the space station, we have separate sleep cabins, but the zero gravity makes us feel like we are standing when sleeping. Bathing is a challenge in space. In a zero-gravity environment, we cannot take a shower as we do on Earth. Researchers have developed a special bathing tool. We use it to clean our hair and skin, and we use it to clean our body. Our ground team has prepared more than 1,000 varieties of food. Look, we have delicious purple rice porridge. Tasty sauté sweet corn. Salty diced beef in black pepper sauce. We also have rice. and vegetables. Look, this is Brassica chinoises with shrimp. We also have fresh fruit. With balanced nutrients, rich variety, and good flavor, the food provides sufficient nutrients for us.
Thank you, taikonauts. From your introduction, we can see life in space is quite different from that on Earth, but very challenging and intriguing. Now, let's connect with Namibia.
My name is Emily, and I'm a science student from Shenzhou-14. And my question is, what research topic are you working on, and what mission are you going to accomplish during this science trip? Thank you.
Chinese taikonauts will have thoughts on this. Let's hear from them, please.
So we carry out long-term exposure. We're looking at taikonauts' behaviors and capabilities, and delving into the application of traditional medicines, and also do experiments on variable gravity science, life and ecology science, biotechnology science, physics of fluids, and combustion science. These experimental research projects will provide support for taikonauts to live a healthy life and work with high efficiency in a space station, and lay the groundwork for future exploration into deep space. We'll realize on-orbit control of the Wentian module and the core, and manage the two module or three module combinations, and conduct joint tests on the large and small robotic arms. We'll also carry out on-orbit experiment maintenance, space medical experiments, and on-station lectures, among other tasks.
Thank you, dear taikonauts, for briefing us the important experiments you are doing in space, which will surely benefit our exploration of the space and science and technology development. Now, I would like to give the floor to my dear colleague, Mr. Hembani Mashlani, Acting Director of the Department of Education, Science, Technology and Innovation of the African Union Commission, to host the rest of the program. Please welcome Mesh.
Sorry. Thank you, dear brother, Minister Council, Mr. Hu, Yolin. I'm humbled to take the floor at this particular juncture where we are all excited and extremely enthusiastic to learn more about what the space offers, not only to China, to United States, to Europe, but also to us in Africa. With all the protocols duly observed, allow me to emphasize the fact that Africa is in the race for space. Our countries are participating today: Algeria, Egypt, Ethiopia, and Namibia. They have all spoken, and we have seen the enthusiasm from our young brothers that they will take care of our space resources. But we have to develop the capabilities, appropriate policies, and find suitable cooperations with the rest of the world and intra-Africa at large. With that, allow me to invite my dear brother, my colleague, Dr. Tidiano Atara, who is our space expert in the Commission, to outline some of the policies, the strategies, and the initiatives that we at the Department of Education, Science, Technology, and Innovation are doing to foster and push the frontiers of Africa to go into space. Dr. Ouattara, you have the floor. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, patron. My task is very difficult now.
我的任务现在非常的艰巨。我一般来说都不会说太多，因为我一般来说没有机会说太多。我们相信。
outer space. What does it mean for us? It means for us how to.
这现在才听得到。我们非洲。英语，你翻英语。想想，这是英语，翻中文，翻中文。
I will try to underline through the presentations. Allow me to alternate between French and English. I think there is an interpretation, and I would like people to take advantage of that. The space is the new African socio-economic development pillar. Whatever you do nowadays, you cannot do it without space. You be aware of that, or you may not be aware of that. Space is behind everything we do today. Give me an example, I will quote and tell you what is behind our space technology. The African Outer Space Program is a flagship of the African Union Commission. What does it mean? It is one of the key important programs of the African Union Commission. This is why the African Union Commission, took the leadership to develop the African Space Policy and Strategy, which is one of the key segments of the African Science, Technology, and Innovation Strategy, STISA 2024. STISA 2024 supporting the implementation of the Agenda 2063. The African Space Policy and Strategy, what does it mean? It means that we work together. From the African Union perspective, the African Space Strategy, Policy and Strategy aim at coordinating the effort. Secondly, at creating a regulatory framework to allow African countries to work, even with different policies and different strategies. What is important here is to create a framework where, from a country to another country, we can do the space activities without too much legal issues. And the strategy per se comes and underline the fact that space should derive products that can support the African socio-economic development. Secondly, we have to develop the indigenous capacity. This is where the cooperation with China will be very important. Let's move on and we'll talk about that later. Africa is the new El Dorado for the space business. That is very important. Why? For two reasons. We have a population more than 1 billion. This is an opportunity to create the critical mass in terms of skill set to develop not space capacity for Africa, but also to provide ammunition to the labor market everywhere in the world where we see the labor market decreasing. Secondly, Africa is a huge continent with a huge natural resources to manage. And therefore, space comes as a powerful tool, our powerful equipment to manage not only the resources, but also to work toward the mitigation of the impact of climate change on these natural resources, even for the food security, also for the life of people through the disaster risk reduction. Space is just providing two things. Space is providing only information and data. Now, to be able to do that, we have what we call the ground segment, we have what we call the space segment, and between we have what we call, so for some, service segment or downstream segment, meaning the applications. And with China, there are opportunities for the three segments. The taikonauts today is increasing this opportunity for young Africans to see that science in space is also related to our daily life here on the Earth. Now, the African Space Agency, I will not talk about it, the Commissioner mentioned it. We also have the Pan-African University Space Science Institute. These are the governance bodies, one to lead the space matters in Africa, and one to work on the development of the skills in the space arena. Now, let's talk quickly about the achievement. The governance one being space agencies and the Pan-African Space Science Institute. At the programmatic level, we have done a lot to prepare the space agency to develop coherent and adequate programs. We have done several studies that are available for people. Secondly, at the international level, we have cooperated a lot with people, with institutions, and with continents. Let's focus on the China one. You can read for the others here. Let's focus on the China one. In 2019, we initiated with Chinese colleagues from the China National Space Administration several discussions that led us to the draft of the white paper. And the white paper includes all the areas and priorities where we will be working with China. Again, this event today fit very well and perfectly in that white paper. Secondly, it is important to underline the fact that China didn't wait for this initiative to start working with Africa. China has been working bilaterally with African countries. Tous les pays africains ont bénéficié du support et de l'aide technologique et scientifique de la Chine par rapport au développement spatial. Encore une fois, cette journée est une opportunité pour souligner ce fait.
Sorry. I will not elaborate again, but we see in the past we have developed and known the world, the universe. Many countries have participated. We have cooperated with China in many fields. Such cooperation regarding the space, it matters to a lot of agencies in Africa to achieve our common goals.
China will be one of the key achievements in the upcoming years if we succeeded to create that single window framework involving all African countries and several institutions to address the same issues. Quickly, I want to end my presentation with the way forward. In terms of collaboration, space by nature cannot be afforded by only one country, by only one institution, not only by one person. Space by nature necessitates cooperation. We have to work together because all the streams of space require different skill sets, different resources, and it is expensive. Therefore, the cooperation with China should look at what we are calling the cooperation private sector, academia, public sector. In fact, in the space arena, as well in all the science and technology arena, innovation is coming only from two bodies. academia, who does the research and development and train skilled people, and the private sector, which transforms these findings from the research and development to markets, to service on the market. This is very important. In collaborating with China, Africa will look at the private sector and the academia in China in collaboration with the African academia and private sector. Therefore, that is a niche we have to look at together. On that, I will say the African Outer Space Program aims at translating the African Union Agenda 2063 into action using science to integrate Africa. And we think that partners like China could contribute a lot and will play key roles. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Tidiane, for outlining some of the policies, the institutions, the way forward, the need for cooperation among our own countries, as well as with the global world and with our friends from China to boost space benefits for this continent. Thank you very much. The Department of Education, Science, Technology and Innovation continues to underline the importance of space technologies, space careers, space markets, and cooperation and programs on the continent. So we've been here on Earth talking about our own space programs here at the African Union and how we want to reach out to our member states. Let's go back to sea and talk again with the taikonauts, the Chinese taikonauts, to allow some of the countries that still have the youth who want to pose more questions. Let's move to sub-venue in Nigeria and request the Nigerian young people to pose questions to the taikonauts in space. You have the floor, my friends.
Hello, Astronaut. My name is Leon. My question: we know you're an official youth in space, but what do you do in your spare time for fun? Thank you.
Did a question, I'm not sure whether we can repeat it. That question again.
Hello, and my question is, we know you're on official duty in space. Or what do you do in your spare time for fun?
Thank you very much. Let us bring back the taikonauts to respond to your question. Thank you. Taikonauts,
Our life in space is very rich. Arriving together with the Wentian lab, where there were several experiments. We have now more experimental projects, and our schedules are very rich. We watch news and videos, and we also listen to the music, or we can do some reading. And we also talk with our family and friends to share our life and the marvels we see in space. All of us in the crew share a hobby, which is to look out over the beautiful Earth and take photos. The planet we have been living on gleams quietly in the universe. The sun shines on the sea's surface and reflects blue waters in different hues. The Earth landforms is very visible from space, and the view is magnificent. A random snapshot can be a photogenic masterpiece. We also fly over the African continent and look over the golden desert, rolling mountains, and brightly lit cities at night. All of these enrich our space-time.
Thank you very much. That's life in space, sharing with families on Earth, being able to see some of the beautiful features here and taking the photos and how they look like from Earth. Thank you very much, Nigeria young person there, for asking that question. Maintenant, on y va au Sénégal. Sénégal, to the young people in Senegal to ask their question. Vous avez la parole, s'il vous plaît. Sénégal.
L'astronaute est un métier honorable, mais en même temps avec de nombreux.
Astronaut is an honorable profession. It is also a risky and challenging profession. What makes a great astronaut? What are the essential qualities, and what is the pathway to becoming an astronaut?
Taikonauts to respond to that question.
想成为航天员。
You have to pass the recruitment test, of course. You have to go through medical checks, test down your physiological functioning, psychological condition, physical endurance, and adaptability in special environments. You also need to pass exams on related knowledge and skills. A healthy body and mind are the basic conditions to being an astronaut. In addition, you need to undergo comprehensive and systematic training and pass a myriad of evaluations and appraisals. After that, you can become a qualified astronaut.
Thank you very much. So, a taikonaut or astronaut, you have to pass the fitness test, which looks at everything from our psychological well-being to our physical fitness. Let's move to Somalia. They are connected. We want the young people from Somalia to ask questions to the astronauts. Somalia, please ask your question.
It's too low. It's too low.
I'm 9 years old.
Thank you very much. Well. I think the most exciting part of this question is the person who's asking the question, how young they are, and what we are trying to do is to integrate them in the discussion of how the young people can take responsibility to look after our space and for them to benefit from that. Astronauts, did you get that question? Please come in and answer.
在太空中啊。
In space, a long time exposure to the zero gravity environment will lead to the loss of muscle and bone mass. For children who are still growing, this might be risky. To perform space missions, you need to go through professional training and have some physical and mental qualities and the necessary expertise and skills. Of course, with the continuous development of technology, space tourism will become more popular. You will be able to travel to space and experience staying in a zero-gravity environment and enjoying the beautiful view of Earth from space. The younger generation is the hope of our future. I hope you work hard and live happy and lead a healthy life. I hope you remain passionate about exploring the space. The sky is a vast spectacle, and we look forward to you joining us as we explore the mysteries of the universe.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That young little girl, she was asking a very pertinent question that when we drive our cars, we go around with them. When we fly from one country to another through the aeroplanes, we do the same. And the big question here was, how can we also get to space? And I think that's some of the pretty objectives we want this kind of interaction to achieve. Thank you very much, Somalia, for that. Let's move to our last country connected, which is South Africa. May you please come in and ask your question. South Africa. We can see you. Pose your question, please. Please, you seem to be muted. Unmute and pose your question.
Good day. We would like to know how long it takes for you to get to space from Earth and what difficulties you feel in space. Thank you.
Thank you very much. She needs to know how long it takes to reach to space. I don't know by what mode. Let's hear what the astronauts say. Taikonauts, you have the floor to answer that one.
Generally, from the launch of a rocket to entering the orbit, it takes less than 10 minutes. When it is in orbit, the manned spacecraft follows a predetermined program to begin to dock with our space station. At present, we have mastered the technology for autonomous rendezvous and docking. The time used from the launch of a manned space to the completion of rendezvous and docking has been shortened from 2 days to 6 hours. From the launch of a spacecraft to astronauts' entry into the space, it only takes a little over 9 hours. During long-term space travel, of course, we miss our families. When the spacecraft had just entered orbit, we felt a little bit uncomfortable, but both of these can be overcome. The biggest difficulty is the challenge posed by the mission on our general abilities. Firstly, the mission requires us to be in extreme good physical state. Space flight require many requirements because you have to overcome a myriad of adverse factors. Only with a strong, healthy body and complete on-ground training can we endure and adapt to these special conditions. Second, the mission requires psychological strength. In the special environment of space, to complete tasks with a high degree of quality and deal with any emergencies that may arise, we must stay calm, cool-headed, and mentally stable. Third, the mission requires special expertise and skills. We need to master the expertise and skills necessary for an on-orbit construction of the space station, its maintenance and repair, extravehicular operation, and space experiments so that we can fulfill our missions.
Thank you very much. This brings us to the end of the first segment, where we allowed the young people from our different countries to be inspired and to interact with the taikonauts, Chinese taikonauts. Now, allow me to invite the Chinese taikonauts again to say a few closing words as I thank them for their time to share this wonderful experience, not only with our youth, but also with us who are here, particularly we at the Department of Education, Science, Technology, and Innovation, where space is one of the pillars we really want to foster for Africa's development under the flagship of Agenda 2063. Taikonauts, take the floor and say goodbye to us. Taikonauts.
谢谢大家的热情参与。最后，我仅代
I wish the event's astounding success made China-Africa relationship last forever and China-Africa cooperation thrive. Bye.
With us today, sharing your experiences. Thank you, the Chinese mission to the African Union, the ambassador, the colleagues. Thank you, the Department of Education, Science, Technology, and Innovation, our minister from Ethiopia, ambassadors from Nigeria, Algeria. Thank you very much for gracing this occasion. It is our strong conviction that Africa should not remain behind in any development front, especially where we can create South-South cooperation, where we can learn from each other and those who are willing to share their expertise and technologies with us. I would like to thank you all for making this a remarkable, memorable event, one of its kind. We have never done such a thing, but today we have been to space. Merci beaucoup. Shukran. Our meeting is adjourned. Thank you.